Alright, so hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. We're back with more Doom Patrol. We're doing Season 1, Episode 9? I think we're on Episode 9. Or what is this? Maybe it's Episode 8? I'm losing track. But we're doing Danny Patrol. Pardon me. And full spoilers if you've not seen this episode, because we're deep diving again, as always. Let me just go on record as saying... this episode, the Karen stuff is right up my alley, and I really love the idea of a sentient street named Danny. But this episode is not fully for me. This is I am not the target audience for an episode like this. But I do want to go on record as saying, so I was going to say this later, but I feel like if this episode helps somebody work out or feel better about any kind of identity or acceptance or confidence issue that you have, then this episode has done its job. I feel like it's a pretty heavy-handed episode at sometimes, but I think that if you're going through these things, it's a very important episode. I can't, I am not going through these things. I mean, I have confidence issues, and acceptance issues, but I don't have identity issues. And while it's universal, some of these things, it's the target part about this of trans people, gender fluid people that I can't relate to. But the themes are all there, and they're for them, and they're for everybody, but they're also really for these people that are having these kind of problems, and how they relate, like to Larry's character, who's struggled with his identity his whole life. That being said, it's still an alright episode. Like, it's like when I reviewed A Star Is Born. Didn't like that movie. Don't like songs. I don't like singing I don't like a lot of music, like people singing in my movies or TV shows. I just don't like it. It's not for me, for the most part. But I appreciated A Star Is Born on the acting level and the production level, and if this, kind of thing is your thing, then great. Like what you like. And that's what I say about this episode, is if you really like this episode, if this episode touches you, if this episode makes you feel something good, or helps you in some way, or you know somebody that's going through this, and you know that this would help them, then good. Then the show has done its job. Because not everything has to be for, have some kind of major impact on everyone. So with that said, man, I haven't been talking that much today. Let's get into the episode. So there's this government agency called Bureau of Normalcy. And they have this guy named Agent Wilson who is... they're all looking for this street. It's in the middle of nowhere, and it's a very interesting beginning scene. I really dig it. It really makes you curious of what's going on. This guy... He walks in, and the street appears to be talking to him and guiding him, and the people there are welcoming, but they're all a little off-looking, and that's, fine. But he sees a place called Peeping Tom's Perpetual Cabaret, and he goes in, and then he basically loses contact with the Bureau of Normalcy, or they lose contact with him, and the street disappears. And that's pretty interesting. That's a very X-Files kind of beginning. Now, when we get to our major main cast of characters, we got Vic. He's still having struggles with Jane's painting, and Cliff. I'm telling you, man, the way they write him, he's always like, "What?" But it's like, if you have a character, if your character is constantly getting on everyone's bad side, then it shows the level of density that this guy is at. Where he's just not a very smart person, where if you keep doing things, if you keep making, doing so shitty things, saying shitty things, making people feel like crap, mocking them, joking with them, revealing like how Cliff really is. You wouldn't have to make up for everything constantly. There's this. There's another thing I was going to talk about later because of how much deflecting goes on in this show. Everybody just tries to bounce something back on somebody else. There needs to be an episode called Deflection Patrol. Because it's just like, hey man, this is your problem. Oh yeah, well this is your problem. This whole episode is full of that. And I've had people go, this isn't a story-based show, this is a character-based show. Really? Did I ever say it wasn't? Good Lord, man. It's like, there's one thing when people hear what they want to hear, and then there's just stuff where people just make shit up that you didn't say. So I know this is a character-based show. And then all the cool ideas and everything. I wish they'd spend more time on the cool ideas, actually, than just the deflection hour that we spend with these characters who just are taking... It's just... God, it's a little grating at this point. Where it's just... I know they're taking their time. I get it. They want these characters to develop slowly over time. But man, I'm only this far in, and I feel like this is the 30th episode. Like, I feel like I've been watching this for a year. And and Rita is the one that I thought would be the biggest problem. Rita's actually pretty well on track of where she's on the right track to getting back to who she used to be. So, anyway, Larry, yeah, it's easy to get sidetracked with these things. Larry remembers being taken to the DOD, but they're really the Bureau of Normalcy, and they want to use what's inside of Larry to their own for their own purposes. And they like to destroy anything that's not normal, which is really heavy-handed, the Bureau of Normalcy. Because of what we have later on with the street and the Danny parts, the Danny Street and everything. Now, the other part of this episode is that there is a personality inside of Jane called Karen, who is apparently the worst of the 64, according to Rita, because she lives in a rom-com fantasy where everything plays out in those rules, and she's a little blonde, pretty girl, and man, this actress, she is just so... She can wear whatever. And she is stunning. And so she uses these powers to get anybody that's close to her in this world that's a human to basically be a part of her rom-com fantasy. Where she's got this guy named Doug who she's obsessed with, who she keeps coming in and out of his life as it pleases. So she'll make this guy fall in love with her and then leave him, leaving his life devastated. And while he finally gets his life back every time, she shows up and then does it all over again. Wash, rinse, repeat. Same thing with their family. Like, they've all basically had it with Doug, but they don't understand that it's not his fault. And eventually, because we're just going to talk about this part. It's over and over and over. Rita trying to talk Karen out of this until Karen, like Hammerhead, pops out. And with her own, use of the colorful language where every other word is fuck, fuckity, fuck, 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 and don't let his dick near my bush, she's telling him, you got to get me out of here. Got to get us out of here. Why can't Hammerhead do it and walk out the door? I don't know. But eventually Rita ends up becoming part of this love spell too, and Doug's parents. And finally... because I'm just kind of cutting to the chase on this, because again, this is like another long episode. So much of this could have been cut down. That Robot comes in, she wants Robot to walk her down the aisle, and when he's telling her this is crazy, she tries to use her powers on him. He's a robot. So it doesn't work. He tries to pick her up. And then Hammerhead comes out again. And because they didn't do what she said, which was get us out of here, which was, what are they supposed to do? They just tried to. They picked you up, tried to take you out. But Karen, or Hammerhead, sees it as an attack, because that's Hammerhead. and my favorite personality. And she goes to kill Doug, but I think when she did that, she knew that Karen would stop her from doing it. And at the same time, it was gives the other personalities the ability to drag Karen into this like old train car subway system inside her mind. And that's all I could get from that, is that the other personalities must have done that. And so now Jane's completely checked out. There is a kind of a cute bit, the robot talking to a kid dressed as a robot, but it really doesn't go anywhere. He talks about, they don't even give him a dance off. I thought we were going to get a dance off here because he talked about seeing Flashdance 83 times. And the only thing I could think of is you're telling this to a kid who's like all of like 6, 7, 8 years old, who's going to say, what's Flashdance? And he's like, you don't know, like, bro, what, like, what, no Flashdance? Come on, man. The kid probably only knows like frickin' SpongeBob SquarePants, and that's not even a current reference. But I know robot comes from a different time, but he also knows what time he's in. It's whatever. We get more of Larry's thing, which is them kind of trying to use him for the Cuban Missile Crisis. They're going to give him a mission. They try to get the thing out, and that's when they discover what he is. And this episode deals heavily with Larry and his inability to just every episode. That's the thing. I guess that's why it feels like we keep going through this over and over again. It's just Larry fighting his identity. Larry fighting his identity. Walking away. Being a coward. Over and over and over and over. And it's like, good Lord, man. It's tired. It's so fucking tired. Other shows could wrap this like storyline up so much better. And I'm not dissing the show. It's just, this is DC, figuring its way through these shows, right? Titans and I'm sure Titans has its own issues, and like I said, I'm not watching that show. And Swamp Thing got canceled like before it was even finished airing, right? DC is trying to find its way, and they're trying to mix the CW world with a mature audience world, and they're still like, hopefully, like I said, they'll learn from some of this stuff. Because I can't be the only one with these complaints who just blindly goes, no, it's DC, it's perfect. But it's just other shows, like it's just showing that they're figuring things out. And while I sound really, irritated, it's more like just I'm passionate about talking about this because I want them to get their shit together. I want these stories and shows to become more streamlined. Because it shouldn't take, if they're trying to, a lot of shows maybe cut to the chase a little quicker. But there's a lot of shows out there. There's so many shows to watch that people's attention spans will be like, if they don't see forward progress eventually, they'll move on and find something else that's going to give them that. And I don't think in a comic book show you need to have this much length taken for the characters to just keep being the same down over and over and over again. Because there is a finite, I feel like this is the kind of show that has a certain length of seasons it can go. Because, right now the whole thing is about finding Niles and Mr. Nobody. And I don't know how many seasons you can go where everybody's just still trying to figure their shit out. And that's a huge part of this episode, is people trying to figure out their shit. So they get, like Vic and Larry find Danny Street, and it's kind of empty. And they open up the cabaret doors, and that's when we see, like, all the cabaret people, and Wilson telling them that, my name is, this is great. The name is Morally Corrupt. Man, could it get even more on the nose? And throughout this story, it's just about, that Wilson found a place that he's accepted, and he doesn't have to hide, but that the Bureau of Normalcy is there, and because Larry won't help out, Larry won't even get in front of everybody and sing, but he'll have a fantasy number in his head where he becomes his old self. But then we realize that it was just him sitting there thinking about what it could have been like, and then he leaves just so that he can tell Vic that I'm gonna do something about it. It's just tired. It's a tiring episode to watch, just because of this whole indecisiveness on them stretching these plots out for a really long time. And then the Bureau comes. Well, Wilson's going to give himself up. he's going to go back to the Bureau and say, I'm going to get them off the scent of Danny because that's what I can do to protect these people, making Larry even look like a bigger coward. And so then they show up. Danny blinks the other soldiers out of existence or something, or teleports them away, I guess. I guess it can do that. Well, then, like, what's the big threat? If they show up and you can just make them go away, or you can just keep teleporting, whatever. Like, go to Antarctica. I don't know. That's an exaggeration, but, drop yourself in the middle of a jungle. I don't know. But they fight him off, and then Larry makes a stand saying, hey, go back to the Bureau of Normalcy and tell them that this place is off limits, and you can tell them it's from Larry Trainer, who they already know, and then he pops the guy. And it's like, okay, great. You helped out Danny Street, but you put yourself back on their radar, which is definitely, it's going to be a story point anyway, so I guess that's one plot that's moving forward, is now the Bureau of Normalcy won't be looking for Danny Street, but will be looking for Larry again. And hopefully that storyline then will really get some more like real headway again into Larry. Where he just finally goes, yeah, I'm gay. And I hurt some people. I know it's not that easy. It's not that easy. Well, no shit. It took me years to be able to get in front of a camera and make videos. So I understand it, but I'm supposed to sit here and this is supposed to be entertainment, and I'm just kind of, while I like, the Karen stuff, I thought that was really funny and interesting, and like I said, the identity stuff is great if it's to help you out like that. But Larry, just like Rita, Larry needs to find a breakthrough, man, and then we need to move on to Robot and get his shit figured out, and then we need to get on to Jane with 64 personalities, could take the whole rest of the show, and I don't mean just this season. So it gets frustrating at times, because I really want to keep reviewing the show. I want to get to the end of it and then, see if I want to continue with season 2. But right now, it's like, there's the last few episodes are really good, and this one just kind of, because it didn't feel like it was necessarily for me, I think it was just a lot easier to just be like kind of annoyed with Larry's character. So anyway, I'm going to end it right here and say, we'll be back next week with more Doom Patrol. So, like, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications and all that stuff. Otherwise, this is Robert Smirking Gun Review saying have a great day, and we'll see you on the next video.